Hi, welcome back to ODE YouTube channel. Today I'm here again for another of those very long videos where I show you all the pens I have with ink right now for the start of the month of April. I have to say that this time I'm a little bit late and now we are not in the beginning of the month of April, but that's when I could do the video, so we will start today. About this video, please be aware this will be long, so if you are not interested in spending a lot of your time, be aware of that. As usual, this will be long, and maybe today I have the maximum of pens inked at one moment that I ever had, because last month, March, I had 30 pens with ink for this video from last month, and in April I have 39 pens with ink. My goal is always to reduce the number of pens inked for each month. I think 15, 20 is already a lot, and we are almost in the 40, so too many pens, I know, but I like them. I have to ink them. Some I ink because I want to make a specific video with them. Others I ink because I want to do a versus video, so I have to ink up a pair of pens. So that's it, that's what happens. And let's start with it and with the first pen. And so, the first pen that I have to show you is this. This is the Moonman M1000 Walnut. It is a pen that is quite well made. It is made of wood and it is a copy of a Montblanc pen that has almost the same features, except Montblanc has the Montblanc logo there instead of this pearlescent jewel, and then you have a Bock steel nib instead of a gold nib. This nib is a number 6 made of steel, as I told you. And so let's start. This is the Moonman M1000 Walnut, and the nib is a fine Bock steel nib, and the ink it has is Noodler's Brexit. And about the nib, this is quite good. It has a very nice feedback. It works quite well with this ink. It is quite wet. I think this is a very good pen, and that's it. And now we go from China, which is where this pen is from, to Germany, and we'll be constantly flying from one country to another, and because there are lots of pens from different places. I don't think there are actually that many different countries, but quite some. We have one now, China. Second, Germany. And this is something that I think you already know very well. This is a Lamy 2000, but the steel version. This is a pen with which I have a love and hate relation, but this nib is really, really good. Let's forget the construction part. So this is the Lamy 2000 steel. There is also the Macrolon version, and there will be a version for 2021, which is very interesting because it is brown. So I'm quite curious with that, but I think it may get very expensive. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. This one has a medium gold nib, and it has Waterman South Sea Blue. This ink is kind of old ink, not vintage but old, this ink is still around, you can still get it, and the ink has a different name. It's not Waterman South Sea Blue anymore. When I do these videos I show you these and I talk about the ink, because this ink is very commonly inside any of my pens, and someone always tell me that is called something. I'm not sure if it is inspired blue nowadays, but this ink, the color is still around, the name is different, but I'm using the old name. This is a Lamy CP1 Steel, still with a sticker there, and it's getting faded. I have to remove it, but it's still there. It has a steel nib and it is not marked Lamy. So this is the Lamy CP1 Steel with also a medium nib made of steel. This is much more feedbacky than the very smooth nib on the Lamy 2000. Not worse, just very different. And inside it has the same ink, Waterman South Sea Blue. And why is that? Because I want to make a comparison video between, a versus video between these two pens, but I didn't have the time to do it yet, but I will do it soon. That's why they have the same ink, and I think they are somehow comparable pens because the designer was the same, the kind of material is the same. Then the next pen that is inked is this very nice thing. This is the new edition of the Lamy Safari for 2021 with black nib, black trim, matte finish, and because I have too many pens with ink, I didn't want to put too much ink inside, so I went for a Parker short a Parker short cartridge, because the Parker and Lamy system is the same, so they fit, and it takes off the volume of ink, and I don't want to have too much ink. I don't want to take forever to run out this ink. So this is the Lamy Safari, and the color of this one is called Original Savannah Green, with a fine steel nib, and the ink is something that I tried because I had some comments recommending me to get this pen, and it is Diamine or Diamine Salamander, I think that's the name of the ink, and it is a nice green. I like some of these darker greens, but it is a little bit on the gray side. It is a cool color. I have some greens that are more on the warm side. This is more on the cool side, and I will show you now when we jump countries again and we go from Germany to Japan. And in Japan we have this very beautiful pen. This is a Sailor King of Pen. I showed you this pen before. Let's see the nib and not spend too much time with it. This is a beautiful thing, and it has an M nib, as you can see, a 21 karat gold nib, and it is a big one. So this is the Sailor King of Pen, dark green champagne or dark champagne green, with a medium gold nib, and inside it has the Montblanc Daniel Defoe. And I got this pen, the ink on the Lamy, just like a replacement for this one, but it's not quite the same color. This nib is very nice because you can have some springiness and line variation, as you can see. as opposite with the Lamy that is very, very stiff. And I think you can see this color, this green, has a little bit more yellow in it. And so this sailor goes away, but we stay in Japan for a while because we go to another pen that is quite different from that one, because this is very small in this configuration, but when you uncap it, it becomes a full-sized pen and even a big-sized pen. You can see it's very large when posted. And this is a Sailor. I don't know the exact name of this model. This is Sailor Pocket Pen. And it has a fine nib, I would say. It is a gold nib. And it has inside Sailor black from a cartridge that was included. So I don't know if this is the regular Sailor black or it is a black that comes only in the cartridges. And it is quite nice pen. I like the Japanese pocket pens. It writes really well. It is not bouncy as the previous one. It's very stiff. But it performs great for such a little pen. Let me show you a close-up of the nib. There is not much information on top of the nib. You have Sailor on one side, and on the other side you have the 14K for the gold content of the nib. And now, from Japan, we go back to Europe, but now to France. And we have this thing. This is a pen that I like a lot. It is one of my favorite pens ever, and this is a Parker 100. I showed you this pen recently, so I will not spend too much time on it. This is the Parker 100 in the color Smoke Bronze with a fine. This is a fine Parker nib, which is a little bit wider than a Japanese fine nib, with vintage Parker Quink Black. One of my favorite inks, and the ink with my favorite ink smell. I don't know why that is important, but I think it is. I can never forget the smell of Parker Quink ink. It is very nice. It's a little bit wider, but it is not as wet as the previous pen I showed you, as you can see on the smearing test. The next pen is a pen that a viewer asked me to review. I would review it one day, I don't know when, but now because he asked, I will try to do it soon. And this is a Parker, where is that? A Parker Rialto, also from UK. So this is a very simple pen, very slim, like the Parker Vector, but it is a wider, it is a higher range of the brand, and it has this engraving on the nib, which makes an 88 from the previous, from it is the previous model, which was the Parker 88. So this is Parker Rialto. This one has an F nib that is written there on the feed. A steel nib with vintage Parker Quink green, which is getting a little bit too light with the age, I would say. It is an ink that I enjoy also. I like it quite a lot. And I have lots of it still left. And it's not a very wet ink, but it is a very reliable ink. The next pen is also a Parker, and this is another of my favorite pens that has this Parker Duo Fold. It is a very, iconic design, and this is the centennial size, which means it is the big size and it is the big red. So this is the Parker Centennial dual-fold big red. I'm not sure what I did to this pen. There is something strange, but maybe I need to clean the nib. Maybe there is something there, but it is writing a little bit wide for the F that I'm used. So this is a fine gold nib, but you can see the comparison with this fine with the other ones. And I didn't notice it was writing so thick. I'm not sure. And it has Parker Quink Black also, because I'm that kind of guy that will use Parker Quink in all the pens. It is very, very wet. I think maybe there is something that I think it may need to be cleaned, and maybe there is something that is making this line too wet and wide. I have to investigate that. The next pen, I didn't show you the nib properly, I think. It has a very beautiful nib with this Ace of Spades, and it is an 18 karat gold nib. So, the next pen is a pen that is heavily inspired in that one, and it comes from China, and it's this thing. It is also called Centennial or Century, it depends, and it is a Jinhao. You have there the little chariot, and here also the logo on the Jinhao nib, and this is a Fude nib, which means it is a bent nib. So this is the Jinhao Centennial, and with this nib you can get this kind of line, and it's called Koi Red or Red Koi, and it has a Fude nib, and you can see that you have some line variation, and the line is different depending on the angle you write in the paper. And it has inside some ink mix that's not identifiable because it has all sorts of things. So compare this very fine line with that one. It's kind of crazy. So this pen writes really well, and I use it when I need to make big sketches and planning, so I can have real big words or letters to guide me. This is a kind of pen that works for me to that purpose. The next pen we have here is this, and this one is very inspired in the other one, the Parker Centennial Full Big Red, and it even has some kind of it has the same kind of engraving. Instead of dual fold it says Century, and this one has a normal fine nib. So this is the Jinhao Centennial. Let's call it Century because that's what's written here, with a fine steel nib that works quite well, and inside it has the Parker Quink Black. It has much more feedback than the nib from Parker, but it is much thinner. But as I told you, this one has been lately writing thicker letters, so as I told you, I think I need to flush that pen. Because sometimes, imagine you have some fibers of paper or something between the tines when you write, they may absorb some ink and work like a brush and lay down wider amounts of ink. And so it is this, another Parker Quink Black. So if we look at this, Parker Quink Black is already in 3 different pens. I really like this ink. Now, we'll go from France to Italy to a brand that I really like. This one is the Leonardo Furore Blue Positano. It is a beautiful pen. It is the Furore Grande. It has a big number 6 nib. This has a Bock nib. The new ones have Jovo nibs. It is a piston filler pen, very beautiful, and it has there Leonardo Officina Italiana and the serial number. So it is a very beautiful resin. This is the Leonardo Furore Grande. The name is Leonardo Officina Italiana, but it gets too long, so Leonardo Furore Grande only. And this one has a fine steel nib, but a very nice one. And the ink it has is a very nice ink, Leonardo Blue. I don't like a lot this kind of blues. I prefer those, like those turquoise colors, but this one is a very beautiful dark blue, or darker blue. The nib writes really well, not much line variation, but the ink flow is really good, and I like the shade of the ink also, and I love the resin on this pen. It is a very, very beautiful resin. And from Leonardo Furore we go to Leonardo Sand. Also a big sized pen, Momento Zero Grande. So it has a different shape. The Furore has that kind of cigar shape. This one has, it's not flat-ended, but it has a conical end. It is a very beautiful pen with the same nib. So this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande with a fine steel nib and diamine Macassar. This is a very interesting ink because it is brown. I love brown inks, but this is very, very dark. And so I think it is beautiful. When you do this smear thing, you can see better the color. This pen is beautiful. This resin is amazing. I really like this. The next pen is a new release that I showed you recently, and this is also another Leonardo Officina Italiana, Momento Zero Grande, and this is the Pura, and it has this ruthenium trim and also a ruthenium plated nib, but this nib is a Jovo nib instead of the previous Leonardos that I showed you, which have Bock nibs. Now they switched to Jovo nibs. So this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande Pura, which is this kind of a frosted demonstrator. This is the gray, very beautiful. The color is grigio antracite, and it has a fine steel nib. And the ink is Leonardo. I'm getting all out of the lines. Leonardo Arancio Tarocco, and this is how this ink looks. And now the smear is all dirty because my finger is now dirty, and so I'm contaminating that beautiful bright orange color. And to match this very beautiful bright orange color, I have here another Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande Pura, but in the color Arancio Fiammante, which means flaming orange. The same ruthenium nib. The grigio, or the grey one, I bought from Appleboom. This orange one I got from Leonardo. Mr. Salvatore sent me one for review, and so this is the Leonardo, let's call it Pura, just like this, and the color is Arancio Fiammante, with also a fine nib, and the ink it has is Leonardo Smeraldo Stone, which means emerald. This ink is very beautiful, right between blue and green. I'm not very good to describe it, but this is very interesting and a little bit unusual. And these pens are amazing, they write well, I like them a lot. And now we go from Italy to China, and we have this thing that looks like a Parker 51, but actually it is a Wing Sung pen, and it is a vacuumatic filler, and it even has a steel hood that we can buy separately and put it here, and it makes a very interesting pen that it's like an evolution of the Parker 51 more than a copy, I think. And this is the Wing Sung 601 steel with a fine steel nib, and the ink it has inside is Robert Oster Deep Sea, and this pen writes really well. There are people that like wetter pens, and so they change these nibs for something wetter. It's more on the dry side, as you can see, but to me the ink flow is just right and it works great for the way I use my pens. And by this time, and judging for the amount of pens I have here, I just cleared the first row of 3 rows, so I would say we are about in a third of this video. I warned you, it is very big. Now we have another pen that we were in China and we go back to Italy, and we have this very interesting pen that's kind of a gothic theme. I love this pen, and I think there will be a very nice pen coming soon. It is very beautiful. The frosted nib now has some purple ink which is inside it, and this pen writes amazingly well. This is the Metuno 1911 Black Sand. It has a fine steel nib, but this one is quite broad for a fine, and it has Waterman Purple. And this nib is amazing because it is steel, it is a Bock nib, it is too broad for a fine, but it actually has some interesting performance. You can have this line or you can have this. So you can really have some line variation. It is a very good writer, very comfortable pen. So I would say this is also one of my favorite pens. I have some brands here that may be direct competitors of each another, and there are some that I like both, and this is a pen that I like a lot. It has been inked all the time since I got this, maybe 2 years ago or a little bit more. I can't be without that pen inked. And now, from Italy, we go to Germany, and we go for a Montblanc, a little school pen. However, it is a piston filler. I don't know if you can see the piston thing there. Montblanc, just to let you know, with a very straight clip made of steel nib, and it has these diamond-shaped ink windows, which are nice. So this is a Montblanc Junior 622 with a fine steel nib, and inside it has the Schiffer script turquoise. I say turquoise, I don't know how it should be said in English, but because this is the way you write it in French, I tend to say turquoise, but I'm not sure if that makes sense in English. This is also a very nice ink, a safe color. This pen is quite dry because I think it's just meant to be a school pen to use on whatever paper you find. So fine nib in a fine nib and quite dry may be better to avoid the ink to feather and to spread a lot into worse quality paper. Now we go from, this is fun because we were in Italy, we went to Germany, we'll go to Italy again, and then we'll go to Germany. So this is a beautiful pen, beautiful, beautiful. This is the Montegrappa Mia. This is a regular edition, not a special edition one. Very beautiful with the Montegrappa logo there. And I love this pen. This is the Montegrappa. This is one of the most unusual resins that I ever saw. Montegrappa Mia Meteor Shower with a medium nib, because I find Montegrappa nibs are a little better if they are medium instead of fine. And it has diamine, don't know, chocolate brown. It writes really well, it's very comfortable, even if you think this is very slim and small, this section, but it is actually very comfortable. It is a steel nib, but with this beautiful Montegrappa filigree. And it's really, really good pen, and this is a very beautiful ink. I like brown inks and I like this one a lot. So this is the beautiful Montegrappa Mia, the Meteor Shower finish. And from Italy, as I told you, we'll go to Germany. And after spending a few time in Germany, we'll go back to Italy again. So this is, I don't think I need to name this pen. It is obvious. It is a Rotring 600 and it has a medium nib. If you change the nib, you can go here and change the nib size, but it is a medium. I bought this in second hand, and it has, not a second hand, it wasn't used in a store, but it had a problem of a crack there, so it was less expensive. And it has this knurled grip section. It has just a medium nib written there with an end fine, very simple nib, but Rotring is known for making simple stuff that work. So this is the Rotring 600 black with a medium steel nib, and inside it has Visconti red. And here you can see the color, and this is a medium nib, but it's not that thick for a medium. You can compare it with the Montegrappa and it is thinner. And it's not a very wet. I waited a little bit. You can see it's not a very wet pen, but it is good. It writes well, it delivers well. It has a knot shape. It may be a little heavy for some people, so maybe not the pen for everyone. And we go from the German Rotring to the German Caveco. And we have here a Caveco Special, which is a pen that I need to review. It could be a very nice pen in almost every way, but I just think it could be better if the threads for the cap were not in the section but in the barrel. This way, sometimes when you unscrew the cap, you don't unscrew the cap, but you remove the section from the barrel. It has an O-ring to grip in a more strong way, so you can just squeeze it tighter and maybe when you unscrew the cap, you will not unscrew the section, but it doesn't work all the time. This is the Caveco Special in brass. This one has a fine steel nib, and the ink, it is Pelikan 4001 Brilliant Red, which is not a very strong red. It is kind of an orangey one. And you can see the flow is good, the pen behaves well, it is wet enough. It's not a very wet pen, but it is nice enough. This is the nib, and the next three pens will have a similar nib, although they are slightly different pens from Caveco. The next one is the small Caveco Lily Put that I've not been using a lot, and let's see if it writes, because since last video I don't think I used it even once, and because it is like my EDC pen, but because of the lockdown there is not much going anywhere, so here it is, made of copper. I like it a lot. So this is the Caveco Lily Put. Here it was not any kind of skipping, I was just writing Lily Put instead of Caveco. Copper with a fine steel nib, and inside it has some kind of ink mix that I don't know, I don't remember, and it writes really well. I'm very happy with this pen. I like it a lot, but it is very slim and it only works like this, posted, and I don't write with it every day. It's just in a little pouch to carry everywhere if I go anywhere. The next pen is also a Caveco, but it is a Caveco Forum, the new collection for 2021, and there is the logo on the cap somewhere. Where is it? There, Caveco, and the other logo there. And this is the Caveco Perkeo, fine nib, similar nib, and this is the all clear version, and you can see that all the ink flow process inside. So this is the Caveco Perkeo all clear. This is the edition for 2021. A fine steel nib, and inside it has Pelikan. I chose Pelikan because I hope this is quite kind of a safe and easy ink to then clean the pen when it is empty without staining. 4001 dark green, and it works quite well, but you can see the difference. This pen is much longer than the Lily Put that I just showed you, but it is much lighter. So this is the pen. It's nice because you can see all the interior part of it, and it is a slip-in cap. And the next pen is a fun thing. It is this. It has this stuff there, legal stuff, but then you can see it is a Hello Kitty pen, and it has even that little bow. And when you take this, you look at the nib and you can see the Hello Kitty face. This is a pen that was made only for Asia, and this is the Caveco AL Sport Hello Kitty. And for this pen that has a fine steel nib, although it's gold-plated one, I chose to put a Divine Design pink cartridge. This pen writes very, very nicely. It's not a very wet pen, it is a fine nib, but I think it works really well, and I'm quite happy with this pen. The next pen is again from Italy, and it is a very beautiful resin. This, I think you can see it well. It has some kind of, it shines in a very beautiful way. This is a Tibaldi pen. So this is the, oops, it was dry. Tibaldi, and this version is called, I don't think I've been using it a lot, so it is a little bit dry, and actually I don't think the problem is that it's dry, it's more that it is empty. So it's not the pen's fault, because I didn't find this pen to dry inside the cap. I think it was just getting empty, so it failed. Let me show you the nib. So this is the Tibaldi Bononia. I just screwed in all the converters, so the leftover ink went to the feed, which is made of ebonite, which is nice. So this is the Tibaldi Bononia. Sorry for that, not pen's fault, it's just empty. And the color of this one is Martini Olive. It has a fine steel nib, very good nib. And the ink it has inside is again the Montblanc Daniel Defoe, one of my favorite greens. And now you will see that the pen writes well. So don't judge it for the first letter, for the first words, because it was my fault. It writes really well in a beautiful color. Beautiful pen that has this amazing design where you almost don't feel the threads, and you almost don't feel any step from the barrel to the section, so it is very, very comfortable to hold. A nice big pen. I like this a lot. It is a very beautiful resin. Now it's time to flip the page and let's see if the rest of the pens will fit in this new page, but I hope so. So from Italy we go again to Japan to show you a pen that I showed you before here on the channel in these pens for the month, because it's getting to be one of my favorite pens also. I'm getting to have lots of favorite pens, which is kind of bad. So this is the Pilot Costume Sterling Silver. And this one has a manifold nib, which is a nib to write in carbon copy paper, and it's a very good nib, strong. You can press it, but you can also have some line variation. It has inside Pilot Hiroshizuku Tsuki. And about the writing, you can have line variation. As you can see, it will take forever to dry because you can really put a lot of ink on the paper, and even if you write with no pressure on the nib, you still, oops, I was a little bit out of frame, you can still have a very good ink flow. So this pen is amazing, sterling silver with this sizzle pattern and this very big Pilot nib made of gold. So very interesting pen that I was very happy to get it. If you get one of those and the filling system fails because it has an accordion sac, you can check a video that I made how to convert this pen in a kind of a cartridge pen. Now, we are in Japan and we'll keep that way because I have here another Pilot pen. This is a Pilot Costume 67 and it is written somewhere on the cap lip. And this pen came before the Costume 74. So it's just the same kind of pen, same size, but with a different, the other one has a wider band here and has a thin ring there. This one is much simpler, has only 2 rings, nothing more. The nib is not very big, it is a number 5 Pilot nib, but it is made of gold and writes well. It's not the most smooth pen, it is almost scratchy in a small point, so you need to find the sweet spot. So this is the Pilot Costume 67 Black. This one has a medium gold nib and the ink is Caveco Caramel Brown. And this pen can also have some line variation. This is the normal writing and this is applying some pressure. So you can have line variation, and I think it is quite an interesting pen. I'm very happy to find this pen. I didn't know it existed until I saw this auction on eBay and I bought it because I like the looks. And let's go to the final, no, it's still not the final Japanese pen, but it is the final Pilot pen, and it is this thing. This thing I got just a few days ago. I got it from the United States, from another YouTuber, and this is a Pilot Fermo green. It's not available in Europe, and it is a beautiful pen. That is like a capless pen, the same kind of design. The clip is a little bit different, but it is generally a Pilot capless, but you twist the end knob to activate the nib instead of clicking. So this is the Pilot Fermo green. I'm not sure if the color is called green or dark green. It has a fine gold nib and it has inside an ink that is interesting, and it is interesting also because it has the name is not written well. It has Private Reserve Avocado instead of avocado. I'm not sure why. This has no line variation. It is the kind of very stiff nib from the capless and the Fermo, and it is a nice color. And if you want to uncap it with just one hand, just retract the nib, just do this and it works fine. So I'm very happy with this new pen to my collection. And it was an exchange, so it was nice. I didn't spend real money to get the pen, I just traded 2 pens for that one. The next pen is now from Italy. It is a steel nib pen, and it may be a little bit expensive for just a steel nib pen. Very simple, but it is very, very good. It is a very good writer. I like this pen a lot. And it has a semi-hooded nib. It is an Aurora Duo Card yellow with a M steel nib. It's not available in any other width, it's just M. And inside it has, guess what? Parker Quink Black. And this pen is what I call a writer's pen, because it's wet enough, it's very comfortable, it is just a slip cap, it is a cartridge pen, so you can easily just put in a new refill or use the converter to ink it from a bottle, and it is very well made, very nice, posts well if you want to post. I think it's very well made. It is a pen for long writing sessions. And now, from Italy, and I think we are done with Italian pens. From Italy we jump to Germany again, and we have a Pelikan. And this is the Pelikan M200 transparent Antracite. I think this was an older special edition. I bought it new some years ago, and it has another ink, another kind of green that I like, which is the Aurora and Klingner Alt Gold Grün. Sorry about my German, I don't know anything about German language. A very nice pen, simple nib with steel nib, a fine with Pelikan and the little bird there, and that's it. But it is a very nice pen. It has a problem because it is a... I got it stained with ink, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to remove that stain there, and because it is a demonstrator, it will see through, but I'm not really that concerned. It's not that important to me, but I know this may be a problem for some, but because if it is a dark demonstrator, you will not see it, that it's not that flashy. You will not look at that all the time and see, oops, there is ink around the inner cap. The next pen is from Czech Republic, and it is this beautiful, this amazing wood pen. I don't love wood pens, I have to say, but this is a wood pen that is lacquered with urushi, and I think the urushi makes a wood pen not to be a wood pen. It has a simple Yovo nib, but it is an amazing nib. Section is ebonite. I love this pen. It is an artisanal pen. I like it a lot. So this is the pen Teo Samurai Ironwood. It has a medium, wonderful, well-tuned nib. It skipped there, but I think it was my fault. When I look at these videos, when I'm editing, I always find that I rotate the nibs in a very strange way. I don't notice that usually, but when I see these videos, I see that. The ink it has is Graf von Faber-Castell Hazelnut Brown, which is a nice brown, although it is more on the red side, and I don't like that much, but because this pen has a very nice ink flow, I think it looks good. And another interesting thing is to see how urushi lacquer gets a little lighter and more transparent with time, and so when you look at the pen, you'll get to see new shadings and new variations of the wood that you couldn't see some months ago. The next pen is not from Czech Republic specifically, but it is from Czechoslovakia, when Czechoslovakia was still a country. And this is a... it doesn't say there, I thought it did. It is a Centropen Student. It has a nib that reminds us of the Parker 45 nib. So this is a Centropen Student 2069 with a fine nib. I would say this is almost an extra fine. And it has inside Kaweco Royal Blue, because it takes international short cartridges, and I thought it was nice to go with Kaweco ink. So this was a school pen, very simple, very light plastic. It has some feedback. It is wet enough, although very fine. It has a screw cap. So what can I say? It's very simple, very, very simple. It looks really inexpensive, but it is good and it works. And pens are made to work and to write, and it writes. And we have 7 more pens to go. Lots of them. I need to reduce the number of pens next month. This is another amazing pen that I got a few years ago. This is a color that I don't see that much. This is the beautiful Waterman Karen. So we went back to France. You can see the Waterman logo there. It is a gold, 18 karat gold nib. and it is a fine. I don't know if you can see the fine there. It is very good. This is the Waterman Karen, and the color is coral red with a fine gold nib, and the ink it has is plus Lamy blue. I have a cracked Lamy cartridge, so I transferred the ink from the Lamy cartridge into the converter and converter. This is something I have to say this about at least Parker and Waterman converters, and this is something that annoys me a little bit, because Parker and Waterman converters, and I think you can see, I can remove it if you want to see it, the ink was mostly on this end of the nib, and sometimes of the feed you invert it and the ink doesn't fall down, and so you start writing and the pen starts to skip, but it's not because of a fault of the pen works, the nib feeding, the ink feeding system works, the nib is great, the feed is great, but the pen is just stuck up there. So that's why some people put those kind of little balls or agitators inside the converters, but then they will reduce the ink capacity, so it's just an annoying thing, and I feel that the Waterman and Parker plastics do this a lot. And it is a very wet pen, it is very good. It has a kind of a bouncy nib, but not a flexible nib, and some people force it too much because they think these will have some line variation. It won't, and then they will damage the nib because they will put the nib away from this hood or this shell. This is one of those inlaid nibs that I like a lot. Also, I already showed you one of these, the one on the Pilot. Now an ugly pen, I have to say. It's like a school pen, but it is a very ugly. And it has this nib, so you can see it is also from France, from Waterman. And this is the Waterman Forum in blue and red with a medium steel nib, and the ink it has is Caveco Paradise Blue. It has a very nice ink flow, it is very smooth. Sometimes you think that the nib is much better than the overall quality of the pen. I think this is really a good pen if you just want something to write. You can, if you find one of those cheap, maybe in a flea market you can get for 2 or 3 euros, maybe 5 euros. Get them, because if you just want a cheap pen to have on your desk and maybe even to give away, if it is in nice condition, it's just a fine pen. Now, we go back to Japan, so we've been traveling a lot. And about traveling, this is a Traveler's company, the one that makes the Midori Traveler's Notebook. This is a pen made of brass. It is a short Japanese pocket pen, as the Sailor that I showed you, and the characteristics are short barrel, long section, long cap. Actually, the barrel is not just this, the barrel is this and the section is that, but you have this ring there that makes this separation. When you post it, it becomes also a very big pen. The nib is a simple one, but it says Traveler's Company. Fine. So this is the Traveler's Company in brass with a fine steel nib, and the ink it has inside is Visconti turquoise, which is also a nice color. I like it. It's very, very similar to the Schiffer turquoise that I showed you before. It is quite wet, it is very nice. It closes very securely, and very nice pocket pen that has this little ring that allows you to put it in a lanyard or in a on your key holder, something like that. And if you don't like these, you can unscrew this top part and just remove the clip and have like a pocket pen and just put a lanyard there or something like that, and you'll not lose the pen. So let's go for the final four. So we were in Japan and we go to Germany, and we have this big piston pen, which is not a Montblanc, it is a Senator President with this steel nib. So this is the Senator President. This is a big pen, the same size as the Lamy, as the Montblanc Meisterstück 149. It has a fine steel nib, and inside it has, let's call it my red. This is an ink that I made as a mix of inks, but it's not a mix of inks like the others that I showed you before. This was meant to have this kind of color. It is more brown than red, but it writes well. It has lots of feedback, but a nice one, and it is good. It's not a very wet pen, but it is wet enough. Writes well. It is a very nice writing instrument, very big, and much less expensive than the Montblanc. Now, we were in Japan and we go back to... No, we were in Germany, we go back to Japan, and we have a very small pen, very strange one. Remember, this is the size of a Montblanc Meisterstück 149. This pen is much shorter, but much wider. And this is fun. You click it, it unposts, and you have a nib that is very, very wide. Short and very wide. The wings, the shoulders of the nib are very wide. It is very interesting. Very nice pen. It says there, Zoom. It is a Tombow Zoom. So, from Japan. Very stiff nib. Tombow Zoom 828 FP. It's not scratchy, but it is a little sharp on the paper. Not that sharp that will tear the paper or dig into the paper, but it is sharp. You can feel that. Inside it has Caveco Pearl Black. But Caveco Pearl Black is quite a dry ink, and I think this pen, because it has a drier nib, it needs a wetter ink to have a better performance, but it is quite a good pen, but very funny, and you need to think, how should I grip this pen? And that may be a very interesting exercise. The next pen is this unusual thing that has a T there, and it has the explanation here. It is a Super T Olimpia. It is a piston filler pen that has a piston knob that is very big, and it has no section. It is a hooded pen, hooded nib, no section. The section and the barrel is all the same, and then you have just the turning knob. You have a little ball there to guide you to know which is the upside of the nib. But it is a very interesting pen from Spain. So this is the Super T Olimpia. And it has a fine gold nib, and the ink, again, it is Parker Quink Black. It writes really well, but it has an interesting type of feedback that you don't find in many other pens, but it is interesting, it's nice, it is kind of an unusual looking pen with an unusual looking clip, but I think it's nice, and I'm quite happy to have this Spanish pen. And the last pen is also from Europe, from the European Union, but it is from up there, not, we are on the south, Portugal and Spain. This is from Ireland, and it is a very interesting pen that has skulls. I think you can see, and some kind of swirls that reminds us of butterflies. It is a very interesting pen. It's made of stainless steel, so it's very heavy. It has a different material ending on both ends. It unscrews the cap, made of stainless steel. It has a generic Yovo nib, and this is the only thing I don't like that much, because if it had a proprietary nib, I think it would be nice. Or even this Yovo nib, but with a special engraving for the brand. This is, you have the logo here on the cap. It's those three bars. This is very beautiful, this pen. But if you look it from far away, you don't see the skull. So it's a very simple pen, very beautiful. I like this a lot. So this is the Gravitas stainless steel. This is the skull edition. It has a medium nib because they didn't have fine nibs available, so I just had to buy this one, but I would prefer a fine. And the ink is another very good dark red ink, which is Montblanc William Shakespeare Velvet Red. This is gorgeous. This is a very good pen to have shading, and this will make you write with a heavier hand. It will not tire your hand, at least for me it doesn't, but it will make you have a heavier hand on the paper, and somehow it's nice. I love the feeling of writing with this pen. And no, this pen was not provided to me for review. It was not given. I paid for it, and I have to say I am very happy I paid for it. The only downside of it, it's very loud when you cap it again. You see that metal, the threads, they make lots of noise, but it is a beautiful, wonderful pen. But it rolls. It doesn't have a clip or a roll stop. So this was my very big video. I think I'm a little bit tired now because we are now at the end of the day, and I had to record this video. We are now, which day is today? Maybe 12. So it's not the beginning of April, and it was when this video should have been released. So I have to thank you all for watching. I hope you find these kind of videos interesting. I hope they are entertaining, relaxing, sleepy, whatever, but I hope you enjoyed it. So please come back for the next video, and bye.